Over the last week, we've been celebrating Chinese New Year. Now, during the Lunar New Year, one of the things that I remembered as a child was doing this tradition with my mom where we would be making some of these pork floss rolls. Essentially, we are putting a little filling inside a sheet and then subsequently my mom would deep fry them. Now, because we've got an air fryer in our house, I thought there was no better way to try using the air fryer with these delicious snacks. When I was doing this with my daughter, one of the things that I noticed was how fun it was to just be able to sit down, connect, and snack a little as we were doing this. I wanted to create a tradition where both of us would also learn to enjoy not only eating the snacks but also making them. If you have been following my art journey for a while, you would know that I love colors. I'm obsessed with it. I use it in a lot of my paintings. My paintings are often really, really bright, very, very colorful, and they are just color-filled. When I first started, I would buy lots and lots of convenience colors because I was just not the kind of person who was going to figure out paint mixing, and I thought it would be so much easier for me to just paint with what I had in front of me instead of having to mix it. So over time, I noticed that my artwork started to look the same. With the same types of colors I had in my palette, I was often drawn to the same types of color schemes, and as a result, with using the same brush, the same colors, the same type of florals, I started to paint paintings that all looked the same. So to kick me out of that boredom, I decided to try painting in one color. From really loving color and all of a sudden just painting in one color. And that practice alone did so much for me. I was challenged in many ways. In today's episode, I'm going to be bringing you on a journey of my painting these dahlia flowers. Lunar New Year always brings up lots of dahlia flowers in the nursery, so I thought that dahlias would be a great one to kind of ring in the festive season. And when I first started thinking about painting in monochrome, it was when I visited Gardens by the Bay, and they have this huge conservatory where there was lots and lots of green walls. So they were just walls with just beautiful leaf foliage crawling all over, and I painted this. And when I was painting this, it made me realize that I couldn't just be picking every convenient green that I had, but I needed to figure out how was I going to pull out greens from the existing wall. This is where, after I did this painting, I went on to study it even more because I really wanted to master painting these green walls. They are so beautiful. And just to give you an example, here's a clip of what this conservatory looks like. It's amazing. I want to paint more of these leaves and foliage in the future. My next exploration with monochrome flowers was this one. And I was being so ambitious because this is a monochrome bouquet. I was lost in trying to find where the florals are because in the beginning, when you just put blue paint everywhere, it's really hard to find shapes, especially since I was so reliant on color. But subsequently, in order for me to break things down a little, I decided to try out painting single florals, and that's where I painted these. And eventually I branched out into trying out more landscapes in the hope of being able to master painting those green walls. And I did a class on monochromatic painting. I also did a few more like this. So I am pretty excited to share with you how this practice has really helped my artistic growth. I feel like monochromatic paintings isn't talked enough about in watercolor practice. If I hadn't pushed past my own comfort zone and tried painting in monochrome, I don't think I would have learned so much more about my capability and also pushing the boundaries and possibilities of watercolor. Anyway, enough about me gibbering about all this. Let's go into the video where you are going to be watching me paint this. I want to take you behind the scenes of a painting that I did sometime in 2023, in the early part of it, where suddenly I wanted to test myself into just painting in one color. Now, when I first embarked on this, one of the things that I struggled with was how was I going to express or show my viewer how I was feeling, because when I use color in painting, it often evokes specific emotions. And by using one color, suddenly you don't have that reliance on color anymore to express yourself. At the same time, it also made me feel a little scared, considering that I no longer was able to use color to hide or to showcase specific parts of my painting. When you use one color in your painting, one of the things that you are focusing on is the light and the shadow in your painting. I challenged myself in doing this. I actually painted in just one color for an entire week. Now, I have to share with you that after doing this exercise, it probably changed the way I painted a lot for the better, and I now feel like I rely a lot less on color. I also focus a lot more on limiting my color palette just because it creates a lot more harmony and cohesion in my painting. Now today's video might feel a little different just because I have got such a huge love for color. If you have seen my paintings before, you would know that my paintings are usually bright, very vibrant, and today seeing a monochromatic painting does feel a little different. That being said, I would highly encourage you to try this practice out if you haven't, because one of the greatest side effects that you are going to notice is that you no longer have the distraction of having to pick multiple colors. Instead, you are shifting your focus on just contrast in the darkness and lightness of color. It definitely challenged me to think about how to make my painting stand out because I'm just using one color without it looking really, really flat. I also noticed that in painting monochrome, I needed to learn to simplify, which forces me to change the way I approach it because I used to approach a flower with lots and lots of colors. Let's be really honest here. When I did monochromatic paintings, I felt so lost trying to find my flowers in a blob, and it really, really felt like a blob and just one color blob, and that made it even harder to find flowers because before, when I used color, at least I had different colors to differentiate different floral shapes. But once I just put in a blob of paint wet in wet, it can feel extremely hard to find where the flowers was. This is where me pushing through that discomfort at the ugly beginning that most of us have and we don't realize is what really helps us to discover our own limits, our limits in tolerating some of the discomforts around things not working out or things not looking the way it should just because we are used to things in a specific way. So I hope that by watching my process today, it has helped you to reflect on what you rely on or what you tend to do, and to think about one thing that you could do differently today that could change your art practice. You really never know, because for me, by painting in monochrome just last year has really propelled the way I paint. Like with every video, I would love to hear if you have tried painting in this method before. Now, I've got a workshop called From Flat to Fabulous where after doing my studies on painting in monochrome, I developed a system to help artists to learn how to break that down. I put the link in the description below, and until then, I cannot wait to see you next week.